Good day,
Hey.
Benj.
Hi, Arjan. Nice to see you.
Yeah, it's good to have another conversation. Um, Hopefully, some people will join us live, and it's great to see all the comments in the replays. Um, but it's definitely interesting to have some chat. So, if you watch this live, and of course in the replay, then just use the possibilities of YouTube or Facebook to interact with us. And today it's another conversation about the innovator and the futurist, and we're going to have an interesting chat. We already did some kind of a pre-chat, so actually I'm really interesting, Bench, because you said something a minute ago that it's really interesting to unpack, and that's actually yesterday you passed your one of your final exams for being a pilot. I think that's now about what we can say, being a pilot. So what was the besides congratulations, of course, what was that interesting learning point that you had, the discussion you had with the examiner?
Yeah, so thank you very much. Passed yesterday my, what do they call it? The general skills test, which is the final um, exam to get you a private pilot's license. So I've been working on it for, well, I think, technically 5 years, but really three years hard work at it. And it was something the examiner said to me as we landed back and shut down the aircraft that really got me thinking. He said, "Congratulations, you've passed. Now you can start to learn to fly." And yeah, I haven't stopped thinking about it really because it's just made me think about how much the whole process of learning to fly is very formulaic and very structured and process driven, and it's really good. You know, you learn, doesn't matter where you learn in the world, pretty much you learn the same principles, the same process, in the same order, and you acquire the same skills, and pretty much globally, bar a few little tweaks, you have a very similar skill test at the end. So it's great, but once you've got that, then you go in the real world. You know, the learning process is in a safe environment. You always have somebody next to you who's way more experienced. The slightest mistake and they can take over. You don't really have to be accountable for the decisions that you make. But yeah, I'm excited about the next stage because it's all about all the thousands of different real world scenarios, the millions of places you can fly to, and the trillions of different weather scenarios, and every kind of thing that will make I'm looking forward to, that will make every day that I go flying in the future different. And yeah, I thought it was interesting to talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, well, it just reminds me of like we were involved in education and about to launch a few new products to actually help educators to become facilitators and creating that learning space for their students to for creative problem solving. And when you go through that topic, that there is a huge difference between creative problem solving and normal problem solving, and that's a bit similar. Well, all of education, we always. I remember the day I finished, I graduated. I thought, yes, I'm done learning. And probably I had that feeling for quite a while, but then I started to actually understand that the learning still had to start because I was just, well, tested, checked, validated that I finished at least more than half of a curriculum. And I
Wow.
see the same thing in problem solving, is that problem solving, it could be about discovery, which means actually you are just finding out what is there. it is learning, but there's a difference with when you do experience-based learning or exploring. And exploring, you find situations, settings that are not part of the curriculum, that are maybe new, that could be influential on actually everything. Like we know that circumstances have an influence on probably the whole world outside of us and the inside world. So it is a total different skill that you start to actually explore what is there instead of discovery what others have already done. A, a bit like I'm going into space, and space is just exploring. But it's different than to discover Mars because we know where the planet is and we know a little bit what we can expect, but now we want to see it with our own eyes. And the difference is that when you go exploring, you'll maybe find another planet. When you go to the discovery of Mars, you maybe find water. It is total different. It is within the swimming lanes, within the box, or outside the box, or without a box. And I noticed that on a personal level, but also in businesses and in schools, that it needs a different skill set. And like
Yeah.
we are all born with talents, but not most of them are not competent enough to apply. So we have to learn some skills around it to apply them. And at the same time, we need an environment that actually supports it and can handle it.
Yeah, I think the environment is an interesting one because I think there's there's two layers to that. I think there's the external environment and there's also your internal environment that you create. So you might not be able to control or fully dictate the external environment, but I think you always have a choice about the internal environmental question and whether you choose to give yourself permission, I guess, to be creative. And yeah, maybe you are in a position of influence where you can influence the environment a lot more, and then I guess the choice, do you choose to give permission and create space for others around you to really jump on that exploration journey rather than, as you describe it, a discovery journey? I think it's really interesting, because I think a lot of the education process is very much like I was describing the flying. It's prescribed. There's a curriculum. There's specific goals and learning outcomes and things that people have got to achieve. And I see it with my own kids. More and more of their education process is focused on achieving those predefined outcomes rather than equipping them with the tools to use everything that they ever experience and extract the learning personally from that, or not just extract the learning but discover completely new possibilities or explore. But you know what I mean, mixing the words up a bit.
Yeah, and they're so close.
Yeah.
It's like if I'm exploring something, then I'm not adapting myself, but I'm adjusting my actions.
Yeah.
And those words are used as synonyms, but they're definitely not. If you go a little deeper in, because adjusting means, and you see that in education as well. Like adapting is actually okay. What should I do to make sure that I can fulfill my task?
Yeah.
While adjusting is actually okay. Situations are different. I have a goal to reach. So what action should I adjust? Um, and then people maybe say, okay, what's the difference between a goal and a task? Well, most of the things, the task is coming from the outside, and the goals, if you've set them yourself, then they come from the inside, which is
Yeah.
a huge difference in if you look to ownership in versus commitment, if you look in taking risk, carrying risk versus just fulfilling a task. And so it just gives you an open invitation to so many levels of this new mindset of a learning or a growth mindset. And what I always love to say, the future mindset, because like just whatever, you need another mindset if you just click a bit around on the internet. And but it's a huge difference if you're in the creative stance where you're exploring your options, which means in innovation language, you divert, you just create more options, you find out more options, and your brain is unique as a human compared to any other intelligence because your brain can make some cross area associations which will just trigger you to think of something that has nothing to do with it. But afterwards, you find out that actually that was the breakthrough thought because
Yeah.
that led to another thing. It's not just a rabbit trail. No, actually, that was a unique association, and only your brain can do that. And the neuroscience and all the others, psychologists and researchers, they try to find out what it is, how it works. Oh, I
Yeah.
wish them good luck. I think I know what it is. It sets us apart from everything that can be put in a box, and it has because it has a predictable sequence.
Yeah.
And our brain is complex, and we a human are complex, so we can't be captured in a box.
And
Maybe that's why we always talk about being outside of the box.
I think it's interesting though because even I think the way society is, it tries to minimize the value of that process in my experience, and effectively lock it in a box that can't be used by saying, well, it's time wasting or you're being distracted when you're engaging in those processes. And so that's why I used the word permission earlier, because I think there is certainly for me there was a giving myself permission and re-educating myself that actually that really divergent thought processes that I've always had, and that you watch any kid playing and exploring, we're born with it, but the education system trains you not to value it in many ways. So for me, there's a kind of retraining and going, well, actually, there is such value in allowing that. You call it cross connecting, but lateral thinking, dreaming, creative thinking, whatever you want to call it, but just and it's not just for me. Certainly, it's not just the conscious, rational thinking at all, but it's also all the other associations that have stored in my brain, whether it's music or smells or the feel of something or an emotion, and how those all link and allow that exploration and coming up with solutions that might not be on initial thought anything to do with the problem that you started out as trying to solve. But when you allow yourself to go there, actually you discover completely new things that might mean that problem was irrelevant. Like we talked about that sort of thing a few times.
And then I always think like we have to develop some kind of self-control to actually allow ourselves to do this, to get back on track. So it goes both ways. It's both like to send us into the field and to get us back out of the field.
Yeah.
But the outside world, because actually that whole creative process is so, well, unsure, because we don't know where it leads to. Like we can't predict. It's not predictable. And that's actually what outside control always wants to do. They want to make it some kind of predictable, because then you can measure it and can compare it. But by making it predictable, we just get the human aspect out, which means we get the human uniqueness out, and it becomes just a repetition or a linear kind of process. And for the sake of control, which we all know, if you go a little bit deeper, it somewhere is connected to the fear of not having control. We are so doing ourselves and all the other people harm, and mainly also the outside world. Actually, the outside world tries to control us, and by that we are not contributing the uniqueness that we carry. But you said something amazing. Well, maybe you missed it.
I probably did.
Yeah, that was like I can talk about a minute around it, but you just said you have to give yourself permission.
Yeah.
And I say it's an amazing word, but I also know it's it's on that bingo list where we do the buzzword. And so actually, maybe it's interesting to unravel what it means to give yourself permission in against your against all the outside voices. So what does it mean, and how does it work with you? Maybe you have never processed it out loud, so let's explore it.
Okay, let's jump in. I think for me it is exactly that process that you've described very briefly there, of the outside voices have always said that it's not okay to time waste, to daydream, to get distracted. And so for me, that permission is probably a process of counteracting those voices and retraining my thought processes, renewing my mind, renewing my thought processes to one that says that it is okay, and that there is value in it, and that I was created like that, and it is good. Yeah.
And do you well, no, it's more like I'm processing myself now. Like when I want to be productive, I never know how to do that in a creative way. I only know how to do that if I can just tick a lot of boxes. So I really look to KPIs, I look to quality, to volume, or quantity actually, not to quality, volume, time spent, all those things. And the moment I just let my mind take a run, explore a field, chase a thought, then at the end of the day, I feel happy, but I cannot satisfy my brain with the fact, because I can't put in just a few words like, okay, this is what I've done today. And actually that makes me some most of the times I have to fight the thought that actually I didn't waste my time. Because I cannot answer the question, what did you do? What did you gain? And it is such a strange thought by speaking it out loud, because we are not human doings, we are human
That's
beings.
exactly what I was going to say.
And every measurement of being successful pushes me back in this old, I would say in the past,
Yeah.
all the way to the resume. It just gives a summary of what I have done and I could do again.
You need some human being KPIs, not some human doing ones.
Yeah, and well, and probably the P doesn't fit. Probably it needs to be something different, because
Yeah.
performance, like we want to look at performance when we look at the airplane.
KLIs, key living indicators,
Yeah,
because it's about life.
yeah, and it's
Or
so
KFI, key freedom indicators.
keep freedom indicators. Yeah, yeah. And on the other hand, like it just touches everything the world is measured about and running around
The
us.
the I think the thing is, with this, my experience at least of it is, with this process, is you don't it it's impossible to measure when you're here, and you can only see when you're sorry, I just got to open the door, 2 seconds.
It's a true live session. Yeah, it's that I think Benj, that is absolutely right. Like if we can only measure it in on the long haul,
Yeah, and when you look back from
which is actually one of the things of experimental learning, is that it is just the doing, it's the exploration, but the reflection. So that's not a feedback or just an evaluation. Now, really, the reflection about like what happened. By putting it into words, we start to understand what happened, and we also can just get the valuable
I, I,
results out of it.
I think there are disciplines that you can use when you're in the process that make it easier to see the gains in the future. You know, things like journaling it or speaking it, or as while you're in the process. Not necessarily all the time, but while it's fresh, because at least for me, it's easy to forget stuff. And actually, sometimes if you can capture some of the things along the way, you can see. I don't know. It's fascinating anyway to see about the process. If I think of discovering space, you're going out there to discover what's out there. But if you're able, after you've done every little section, to plot where you've been, then when you look back, then you can see the whole map that you've explored.
Yeah.
And there was something else, stepping back very slightly, about how do you get yourself into that space. And I don't know that I've got a magic switch at all, but I know that there are things that I can do environmentally to help me get in that space. Whether it's going out for a walk or having a shower, or being, not doing.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of the things is I think like when I reflect, it helps to capture my thoughts in a drawing
Yeah.
or try to write them down. But the most effective one is actually the verbal expression, like just processing it, but trying to speak about it, testing, finding new language.
Yeah.
It helps to have listeners who are competent enough to help me distill the the unique words out of it, because easily to tell, and by that actually give you some reflection and some, well, maybe that's the feedback loop, like the
Yeah.
feedback based on your reflection, not on what you did, but on your reflection. That is really helpful, having peers around you that actually say, but wait a minute, this is what you're saying, that's actually quite valuable. Let's circle back to that
Yeah.
and go a little bit deeper.
I'm reminded as well of something that you've said in a number of the challenges that you've run. The goal is who could I become, or who can I become? And so if that's the goal for all of us, who can I become? And the creative process is part, ultimately, you can engage it on a micro level, a personal level, at an organizational level, but ultimately it's about who could I become and who could we all become. Then actually that creative being, not doing, process is all about moving forwards towards who can I become. And that's why I think that you can only in hindsight see, am I becoming who I want to become, and who I feel that I'm going, or I can become.
Yeah, and
and that's how, for me, then it's linked to voice, because you know you speak from your heart, and your heart and your spirit connect with people as you speak, and connect with yourself,
yeah,
and
yeah,
that
good.
yeah, creativity then allows you to find new expressions, new words, new connections from your spirit and your heart, and get them out, and that process lets you become, and
Yeah,
and
that,
we, and the bit you're talking about, having a group of a safe space to process it, especially when it's raw, that's invaluable as well, because it's like a rapid feedback loop.
yeah, and you put yourself a bit in. I mean, I think it's one of those disciplines you talked about. You frequently get yourself in this rapid feedback loop with your peers. So the experience-based learning, exploring space, that's what you do without time. But by putting in time, these routine-based,
Yeah,
frequently feedback loops, at least gives you the freedom to keep exploring and not leave it to coincidence that you start to find out something or start to understand. Now, the learning process you accelerate by speaking weekly to your peers, and maybe small steps, but then those small steps are very important for those who follow you, because if they have to follow you, and I always feel the self-accusation that I exactly know, metaphorically, never done it physically, metaphorically know how to finish a marathon. But I guess I know how to finish a marathon, but and I probably remember how I started, but I have no clue what I did in the preparation. So by verbally taking all those small steps, it is easier to actually just um, give openness to those around you so that they can be inspired.
yeah,
I think that's the most important thing. The inspiration is one of the things that I think is connected to this. Like if you explore something, it's driven by your intrinsic motivation. But when you start sharing it, it will be the external inspiration for others that they needed the fuel for their intrinsic motivation. So it is
yeah,
like we are like an air blower. We all carry our own flame. Sometimes we need just by sharing a story, we just put some extra air, oxygen with the other person's intrinsic motivation. Why they get to combustion, and I think that is part of running together, and that is really giving a lot of joy and satisfaction to see other people like they're definitely not much better in life, or definitely not in business life, than just to see someone else that you just can see in their eyes that the light is turned on.
yeah,
And then I could say, oh yeah, I love to turn on people light. Now they have to do it themselves, so that it's meaningful, it's connected to a memory, which means it's life changing, and they own it. So it is all to do with all these aspects, which are all connected to an experience and not to a discovery of a set path.
yeah,
So creative problem solving, I really believe it is something totally different than just problem solving. And
yeah,
and we said it one of our first conversations, she said something like, I love to be involved in problem solving, but most problems are not there to be solved. And maybe most problems are there to just ignite our creativity.
they are, and I think it's, for me, it's a choice, um, to reframe how I see problems as inspiration to kickstart the creative process.
Yeah.
and discover. And because for me, I want to see who I can become, and I want everybody I come in contact with to be inspired through me doing that to come on that journey as well. So yeah, it is really a reframing or a retraining of your brain, or a choice to take problems, and not just my natural tendency would be to try and fix a problem, and yeah, that's right sometimes, but to reframe them as opportunities and invitations to innovate, or to explore, whatever you want to phrase it, but to see what else could be, and who could we become, and how can we change the world around us for the better.
Yeah. So what if a problem is not there to be fixed for the problem owner, but it's a problem for the owner actually of that problem as a kickstart, like you said, to ignite their creativity and accelerate them, find some language, take others aboard, but actually to go move forward, take a giant step forward.
Yeah.
And what if the problem fixing was just to keep them in place? And at the other end, if I say that, and probably there are 1,000 opinions that say, yeah, but sometimes you just have to fix the problem and move on. I know it's not a balance.
No.
It's a game. So, and you have to just play. You find out the rules, because probably they change every day. And play the game well, and which is all including emotions, flexibility, other people, relationships. So it's definitely complex.
Yeah.
But life is complex. We try to make it easy, but I think it's what Einstein said: explain it simple, but do not oversimplify it, because then the problem is even bigger.
Yeah.
So I just want to
really good.
wrap up by just invite others to engage with you, Benj, engage with me, and it's definitely one thing that also came in our conversation to the surface. You need peers around you. You need peers to process, to accelerate, to learn, to inspire others, to be inspired, and maybe the most important is to create a safe place.
Yeah.
And I always say peers are like my brothers and sisters. They are the most brutal people on the planet. But they have no interest to damage me. They have actually an interest in to see me. Well, I think it's an American expression, but I'm born to fly. So you are doing it, Benj, but I
Yeah.
think metaphorically we're all born to fly.
Yeah.
And sometimes we just need someone to jump metaphorically and use their wings
Yeah.
and start living by who we can become.
Yeah. It's the mother bird pushing you out of the nest because they know that you can fly.
Yeah, that's true. And then the brothers and sisters are all laughing at you. Yeah, but that's just that's what you need, and that's a safe place to learn.
Yeah.
So this whole process is of personal development is connected to a safe place, not a protective place, but a safe place. And so if you want to connect, if you have questions, so give yourself permission. Give yourself permission to test out the mastermind group, where there are multiple peers that love to push you out of the nest and are really open and vulnerable enough to be pushed by you. So just connect, test it, try out, find out, have an experience. And so the link is below, businessrevivalist.com/mastermind, and then there is the button for guest session. Just try it, then we know what we talk about. So Benj, I want to thank you,
No, it's good. Thank you.
and yeah, it would be fun to take a flight with you. but maybe you have to do some more exploration first.
We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. It will be a real hell of a ride.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for your time.
All right.
Have a
Thank you for
great day.
yours. Yeah, nice
And
talking to you.
everyone else that has been listening and is connecting, engaging with us, have a great second part of the day and speak to you soon. Bye bye.
Bye.